We are going.
Great. So good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, the 18th of August, and this is Allison. How are y'all doing?
Great.
Good. Good. So this evening, I was just sharing with Kirsten and Stephanie, I am parked. We have about an hour and 24 minutes till the girls and I get back to Kansas, back home, but I stopped to get them some dinner at a drive-through, and it is pouring. It's raining sideways. So I'm here pulled off in the parking lot and ready to get started with this call. So if you have your slides up in front of you, you can bring those up, posted to the team page, the winner's circle page. You look and you see the first thing we're going to talk about is triumphs. So what triumphs, what successes did we have this week?
I got up this morning.
Oh, say it again, Stephanie?
I got up this morning.
Yes. You mentioned that being something that you wanted to do consistently on the Team Reverse the Trend call. And tell us briefly about that.
Well, I feel like there's never enough hours in the day to do everything, but I absolutely love sleeping so much. It's like I'll stay in bed till 9 o'clock in the morning and then get up, and it's noon before I'm doing anything. And today I got up at 6:45 and I got a whole bunch of stuff done.
Awesome.
Nice.
So is this going to be something that you keep up?
I hope so. Hopefully I will have to, because hopefully I'll be starting to get some jobs soon. That's my problem. If I don't have to leave the house, I just won't get up.
Gotcha.
As long as I have to be somewhere, I'm good.
You're good. So obviously you've tasted the benefits of getting up early and seeing what you can accomplish by getting up earlier.
Yes.
That's good. How about you, Kirsten? Anything on your end?
Yeah. Well, it's nothing like huge, but it's huge for me. It's just being consistent with my stuff every day, and I give myself the weekends off. So, yeah, I'm on day 13, or today is day 14 of being consistent with all of my work tasks.
Excellent. And what makes this different than days past? Has your schedule changed, or what's making this possible?
Before I would just be like, I would find excuses to not do stuff. Like, I'm so tired. I'm just going to take today off in like the middle of the week, when I had already planned, like, okay, no, you need to like do work or whatever. So, in days past, I would allow myself to make excuses and push things off. And now I'm like, nope, I don't feel like doing this, but I'm going to anyway.
Super. So your consistency is really, it sounds like it's sticking and you like how it feels.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, excellent. So tonight, let's talk a little bit about, and Stephanie, you and I talked a little bit about this today. What is a niche? We're going to talk about the importance of having a niche in our businesses, but let's talk about what a niche is. So before I share the definition I found in the Webster Dictionary, what does a niche mean to you?
This is Kirsten, and to me it means like a group of people who think or behave the same way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
A specialty group.
A specialty group,
like
okay.
a microcosm of a larger group.
A niche. And can you all give an example that might come to mind?
Healthcare professionals, people that care for others.
Okay. Healthcare, which is very different than athletes or something. You know, you've got a group of people who are like-minded, right? So I like those definitions you all gave. When I look it up on i.word.com, interesting, It says niche. One of the many definitions is a situation in which a business's products or services can succeed by being sold to a particular kind of group of people. Another definition is an environment that has all the things that a particular plant or animal needs in order to live. And a place, employment, or status or an activity for which a person or thing is best fitted, right? So, a niche, that kind of sums up what a niche is. And especially when I like the definition that talks about businesses that suit a particular kind or group of people. So when we think of a niche, let me get back to this here. So it's really important for us to have a niche, and not just a niche, any old niche, but a well-defined niche in our businesses. And the reason for this is because there are how many hundreds of thousands of Beachbody coaches now?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, there are a lot of Beachbody coaches out there these days, right? So we don't want to be selling Beachbody through our businesses. That is the antithesis of what we want to be doing. We want to inspire people by being authentically us, by being authentically Kirsten, by being authentically Stephanie. And what happens when you find a niche market, you're not competing with every other Beachbody coach out there, right? You are inviting people to follow you because you are you, and you and those individuals have similar interests. So they become inspired to follow you and join what you're doing because of your similar interests, right? And if I looked like every other Beachbody coach, not just physically, but if I looked and did and marketed myself as, oh, I'm selling Beachbody, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, then I'm just like all the other Beachbody people that you see who haven't found a niche either, right? So has anybody found, can you share an example of, do you have a niche? Does anybody have a niche now that they want to share?
I do.
Okay.
Kirsten, and my niche is for people who like to travel and stay fit while they travel.
Okay. So what is yours? I believe you called it the fit. You call yourself the Fit Traveler, Kirsten Haar?
Yes. Kirsten Haar, the Fit Traveler.
Excellent. And how are you using that? How are you engaging people? How are you authentically you and still inviting people to the Beachbody events without screaming Beachbody everywhere?
So I'm using things like, well, for the business side, like, hey, I can work from anywhere in the world. And if you want to be able to travel and still get an income, you can do the same thing. And then from the fitness side, just sharing things on like, hey, if you're traveling, here are some like workouts that you can do or ways you can eat healthy. And Beachbody is really good because you can, especially now with Beachbody on demand, like you can travel and still do stuff and not have to take all of your DVDs with you. So it's becoming more convenient for people who like to get around.
Great point there. And Stephanie, you talked a little bit about yours earlier today. Would you share that?
Mine is caretakers, healthcare professionals, teachers, anyone that's like in public service that cares for other people and tends to forget about themselves.
Okay, good. And that fits a niche that you are in. You talked about social work. You've done
social work and teaching.
So both you and Kirsten can relate to the people who are the people you're targeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So what happens when our niche is well defined? And Stephanie, if I can I share a little bit what we talked about earlier today with the warm market?
Uh-huh.
Oh, by the way, everybody, Stephanie met us. She met the girls and I for lunch right outside of St. Louis. So
Nice.
it was neat to have a chance to meet her in person, and we actually got to talk in person.
Yeah. And your daughters love me, I think.
I say it again.
And I think your daughters love me.
Oh, all right. So we talked a little bit earlier today about how it's easy to exhaust our warm markets. So our warm markets are all the people that we know, like our Facebook friends that we know because we've known them for years, or people we haven't been in touch with, or we went to school with and we've reunited with them. That's our warm market. And I don't know about you all, but I've had a tendency in the past, and even now still to an extent, is reaching out to my warm market. And not to the point where I'm badgering them, but, you know, there's something to be said for having people come to you instead of you trying to pull people to you, right? So creating an environment through our social media platforms that show people who we are, what our niches are, it demonstrates that to them, and inspire them to come to us. So when you have a well-defined niche, you can gear what you're doing on your social media platforms to those individuals. So we want people flocking to us instead of trying to trap them in our little nets and reel them in. I don't know if that's a good, that's a visual that comes to my mind. And I don't want to say trap because it's not necessarily a bad thing, but we want to inspire people to come and draw them in towards us, right? And last week we talked about why. Our why, like why are we doing what we're doing? And I think it's important to tie the niche back into what we talked about last week and why it's important to start with why. So maybe I'm doing this a little bit backwards, but if you determine who your niche market is, you can figure out why you want to help them. Like, why are you doing what you're doing for your niche market? Okay. But once that you identify who your target niche is, then you can relate to those individuals and figure out why you want, and well, I guess I'm being a little bit redundant here, but the idea is, why do you want to help these people? And these people, in quotes, is your niche market, your target audience. Like, who are you looking to help, and why do you want to help them? Does anybody have anything they want to add to that?
That was really good. I like that. Thinking about why, like knowing your target niche and figuring out like, okay, how can I help them and why would they want my help too? Another thing I was thinking of is like, does the niche have to be something that you know something about or are like actively engaged in, or can you just pick anything?
So that's a really great question. In my mind, I think it's important to pick something that, or select a niche that you feel connected to, that you know. You may not know everything about it. Like, let's say you're a track and field athlete. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing this out there. Mm-hmm. You're a track and field athlete, and maybe you're a hurdler, but you don't know anything about javelin throwing, or you don't know anything about the 16. Well, you know, maybe this is a bad example, because even within the realm of track and field, there are a lot of niches. Like a 2-mile runner, or I don't even know the distances. A long distance runner on track and field, in track and field, may not really relate to somebody who's a sprinter, right? So maybe my niche market is like sprinters in the track and field world, whether it's hurdles or, a relay race or that sort of thing. So if I'm a high jumper and I don't do any sprinting, I may not be able to relate to people who are sprinters. So you really don't want your niche to be too narrow, but you also don't want it to be too big either. But to get back to your question, Kirsten, I think it's important that you know something about your niche where you can relate to them and not be struggling to find a connection with them. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps.
Okay. Yes. So I kind of jumped around in answering that, but hopefully that kind of helps. It's very important to know something about, or to have a way to connect with your niche market or your target audience. Okay, so looks like we have about 10 minutes left in our call. And does anyone, do you all have anything else you'd like to add to what's been covered thus far?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I really like the quote. One thing that I like about shifting to the niche market is the whole idea of like, you can't be everything to everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And trying to do that is not going to be successful.
Exactly. You'll find yourself bouncing around trying to see who you can draw or attract to what you're trying to do. And it all goes back to the why. Like, why are you doing this? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, great point. Thank you for sharing that, Kirsten. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to, if you get the slides in front of you, there's going to be an exercise, a little bit of homework. And if you look there, you'll see the homework has us coming up with 3 possible niches. So let's say you're at a point right now where you're not really certain as to what a viable niche would be. You haven't found a niche, or maybe it's too broad or it's too narrow. Come up with 3 possible niches and post them to the team page. Okay? And in doing that, you want to explain also, because I think it'll help us clarify if we haven't quite found what we need, our niche yet. It might help clarify, wow, well, this is a good market, or no, that doesn't really make sense because I can't really relate to people who do X, or I can relate to people who do Y. So we're going to explain why they would be our niche market in a sentence or 2. And then we are going to go and find 3 Facebook pages. You do a search or something on Facebook in the search bar, and find pages where your niche is congregating. Because you want to see, what are these people talking about? What do they do? And oh, by the way, what hashtags are they using? Right? What hashtags are they putting at the ends of their posts to draw people or to identify them? Because you can use those hashtags for yourself, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram. But I think that would be a useful exercise in trying to define a niche. And the idea, too, is to have others comment on our niche. So we want to get some feedback, but we've got to post them to our Team Winner Circle page in order to get some feedback on what it is. And just briefly, just to share what my niche market is, it took me a while to come up with it, but I discovered that I can relate to people who suffer from autoimmune disorders, and more specifically, various types of lupus. So my niche market is, in fact, lupus. My tagline is fighting lupus with food and fitness. And I picked that because, number 1, I can relate to it, but number 2, my why is I want to help people see that they can come off their medication, they can get fit and exercise, and that exercise is one of the components to getting healthy and overcoming. It's just one. It's not the only one, but it's one of the components to getting healthy to the point where you're not suffering from the disorder all the time. And through that, I'll share my other things that I've learned that have helped me through my process. So that's my niche and that's my why.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what I have for this evening. Want to open it up for anything else, and if not, we can call it an evening and post the recording.
Cool.
Hey, listen, I do want to mention to everybody too. Don't forget, it's never too late to add somebody to a sneak peek. Even if the person joins the sneak peek on, the Friday or the Thursday before the last day of the 5-day event, you can still add them. I mean, they can scroll through and see what's available. And the questions that have been asked, and they can still post and ask questions. So if you have somebody who wants to be plugged into the sneak peek, the Team Reverse the Trend sneak peek, definitely let Judy know, and we'll get them added.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's all I've got on this end. Unless there's nothing else to be added, I'm going to sign off with y'all. Thanks for being here.
Yep. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.